Listen, it was really crowded at the beginning of the race, really tricky to. Hey everyone, and welcome back on the channel. My name is Alex, and in today's video we're doing something a bit different that I'm not really used to be doing here on the channel, looking at my data and taking you with me to analyze a bit what worked, what didn't, and in this case for the Tokyo Marathon. First of all, we'll discuss a few things that worked really well during this marathon, and then we'll look at the data and maybe try to figure out what mistakes I did during the race that cost me a PB. Let's go, and first of all let's discuss carbs and nutrition. So my strategy, as I explained in episode 6 of the Tokyo series, was to hit around 90 grams of carbs per hour, which I did really well. One gel every 5 kilometers until 35 and no gels at kilometer 40. It worked really well. No gut issues, despite me not being able to go to the bathroom before the race, and I was quite worried about that. Fueling strategy worked really well. I was a bit worried around kilometer 15 because I couldn't see the boys, Tim and Nico, who had the extra gels that I needed, and I only had 3 with me. So for kilometer 20, I needed one gel from them. I saw Nico at kilometer 17 and he gave me a gel. All went well. I was a bit scared that I would have an issue there, but it went really well. So that's for nutrition, and I think, when you have something that works, you can just take it with you. You don't have to change anything. And this strategy, I think I would use it for another marathon if I were to race one. And stay tuned, maybe I will share with you some ideas, or it's not really a race announcement, but some ideas I have for the next race at the end of this video. Second, let's discuss about this thing, the shoe that I used, the ASICS Metaspeed Edge Plus. It worked really well as well. No surprise, I used it in my training, in the Tokyo training block. It's the shoe in which I did my long runs and sometimes my tempo sessions / VO2 sessions, depending on the week. The concerns that many of you had in the comments in episode 6 of the Tokyo series were that I was racing with a brand new shoe. There was a slight, timing, let's say, misconception in this video, because the video was published essentially 2 days before the race, or the day before the race, and I had the opportunity actually to use this shoe once before the race, so I felt that it would be okay. And reviewing shoes, I'm quite used, to going out with brand new shoes and breaking them in. So I wasn't super worried. I had absolutely no issues whatsoever of chafing or rubbing. It worked really fine. I felt like the foam and the plates didn't need any specific break-in time. So as soon as the race started, I was feeling really well in the shoes. And I don't regret my choice at all. I feel like the Edge Plus was what I needed, making it a slightly heel to midfoot landing and then nice transition to toe off with that very nicely curved plate here in the forefoot. The Sky has a very flat plate here in the forefoot, requiring you to push way more on your toes and using a bit more your muscles, producing more power to get the same speed, so being a bit less efficient. And the Edge has a slightly nicer roll, provided that you can land naturally heel to midfoot, which I sort of switched to during the training block. So the Edge worked really well, and I'm not saying it because ASICS sponsored the video. I would take the Edge for another race soon, and I think I'm gonna do a time trial soon on my own just to check some data and stuff, and I will take the Edge for that, the Edge Plus, simply because it just worked very well for me in this race. Now let's look at the data, let's look at my Strava. I'm gonna put my glasses here, and let's start here on the main page of the Tokyo Marathon. I should change the title because I'm not disappointed anymore, and that's what I was trying to say already at the end of episode 6. Let's first look at this right here, temperature, humidity. So temperature 8 degrees Celsius, so that's in the 50s, so ideal temperature for racing. The felt temperature, I don't know how you say it in English, the temperature that you feel, 6 degrees Celsius. Again, low 50s, high 40s Fahrenheit, really good for racing. Maybe a tad cold at the beginning of the race, but nothing dramatic. Humidity 52%. I was worried about the humidity in Tokyo and it was absolutely fine. And a very, very small slight breeze, but 15 kilometers per hour is really, really nothing too bad. I didn't feel it, to be honest. So yeah, conditions really, really good. I used my Chorus Apex 2 Pro as it says here. With that said, let's look into yeah, we can check the graph and you can already see what happens here at the end without going too much into details. But let's look at the averages. So average pace, 4 or 5 kilometers, 4 or 5 minutes per kilometer. That's 6 minutes and 36 seconds per mile. The grade adjusted pace, 4:03. So that's, let's call it, 6:30 minutes per mile. Average heart rate 175, so my max heart rate is 204, and if I check the ratio, we're looking at 85% of my max heart rate here with the 175, which, let's come back to that in a second, may be a bit too high. Cadence 175, nothing spectacular here. I was probably more in the 176 to 178 during my training block for those spaces. And if we look now at the data and all the laps, so as you can see here, everything was nice and consistent until kilometer essentially 36. Yeah, 35, 36 is what I have in mind. Let's look here at all the laps. So the first one, 4:11 minutes per kilometer. So that's around 6:40 minutes per mile. Listen, it was really crowded at the beginning of the race, really tricky to, zigzag and find my way. I feel like the pace doesn't really reflect the struggle I had. I felt like I was really, really rushing and trying to find my way. But that's the beginning of a race and that's how it is. And the Tokyo Marathon has that, double left cornering at the beginning. So you cross the starting line, you turn left, it's a sharp 90-degree turn, and then another time left 90-degree turn. So if you're on the left-hand side of the road in your gate, in your corral, you will slow down a lot because, of course, turning twice left, the inside of the curve, people are going way slower because everyone's trying to find the shortest way. If you take the outside, you run a bit more and it's a bit faster, but it's not ideal either. I was somewhere in the middle, so none of the two options really applied to me. And then second one, quite a fast one, 3:40 minutes per kilometer. That's around 6, probably 5:55 minutes per mile, something like that. So quite fast. I lost a bit of energy in this one. It was downhill, as you can see, grade adjusted 3:44. It was downhill, so nothing dramatic either, but I lost some power in this one. I'm racing with power, so I have a power target. I have the stride pod on my right foot, and I'm checking only power during the race. I'm of course comparing with paces, but I'm pacing myself with power. And this one, my target was around 295 to 300 watts, and this one was 308 watts. Yes, downhill, but yes, it took some energy out of me, out of the tank. Not necessarily going too much, anaerobic, lactic, whatever, but it took some energy out of the tank for sure. That's only 1 kilometer, but it takes a toll. Heart rate, by the way, is exactly where I wanted to have it. 172 here, very good. Cruising, feeling super good. I clocked some faster kilometers here, 3:43, 3:47, 3:45, around 6 minutes per mile average. Still around that 173.4 bits per minute, but that's too fast. I think, looking back at the race, I would have preferred to be here in the 4-minute range, 3:55, and not clock those 3:40, 3:43, 3:47, 3:45, 3:49. That was a mistake. That's how I see it now, with a bit of fresh minds. I should have been slower here at the beginning, and I was repeating it to myself the days before a race and even at the beginning of the race. And I think, I didn't rush it too much. So it's not like I clocked some 3:30s, which would have killed me way before kilometer 35. But I think if I would have been a bit more conservative here on the first 5-6 kilometers, essentially until kilometer 8, where I settled and my pace became a bit more consistent, I would have been better off at the end of the race. All of these are fine, but I think the previous kilometers from 2 to 5, essentially 2 to 6, took a toll on me, took a toll on my body, and The heart rate, as you can see, was already climbing, and it's way too early in the marathon for the heart rate to climb. It can climb like 1 beats per minute between 2 and 10, but certainly not 4, 5 beats per minute. The half marathon mark I passed in 1:21:50, so that was a 2:43 marathon estimate, and I was happy with that. But my heart rate was already, 179, 180 here at kilometer 21, and that's too much. That's something that I could have reached probably 10 kilometers later, and it would have been way better, because then I would have finished probably with that 243, 245 target. Still achievable. What's going on a bit later between kilometer 20 and kilometer 30? I can already see here some 355s, 357, 358, 402 at kilometer 32, and that's a sign of slowing down. If you look at the graph here, it's not very obvious, but the trend isn't going upwards, it's going downwards. And especially between 21 and 30, there's really a trend going downwards and not the other way around. I was slowing down and I could sense it. And when your mind senses that you're slowing down and everything else becomes hard, because again, the crowd and the atmosphere wasn't all over the place, and I needed some support. I would have liked to have a bit more cheering, a bit more atmosphere. Your mind understands that the body will shut down, and so your mind just does the worst thing it can do. It shuts down as well. So everything is going in a darker place. It was signs of not disaster, but signs of issues coming. And then the tricky part, let's look into it. So 33, 34, it's okay surviving like 402, 358, 359, 406. Even kilometer 35 is okay. The max average heart rate per kilometer is 186 here. Too much, to be honest. I'm not really looking at heart rate in general, because it's just an output, and I like to check it for like longer periods of time to see how my fitness is building and so on. But in one workout on one day, it doesn't mean much because of so many outside factors, and that's why I really like power. Yeah, here 186 I think is just too much. And kilometer 36, that's where it gets tricky. 427, 449, 444, 520, 505, 522, 503. And so, body shutting down. I had, I even like walked for an aid station grabbing a drink, and I knew that everything was over basically to get a PB. So I just walked the aid station drinking my water and then jogging back. And the heart rate, of course, went down, not as much as it should have been going down, which again means that, the body was probably also a bit dehydrated. If I look into it like with because it was like sunnier at the end, a bit hot, despite me, preloading on sodium and so on, you need water at some point, especially if the temperatures rise. So yeah, and if we look here at heart rate zones, seeing stuff in Z4, so zone 4 between 183 and 197 for me, 15% of the time, so 27 minutes, that's way too much. I should have had, maybe 2% here at the end of the race, like the last 5 minutes, but not that much. That's too much, and that's, showing that the body wasn't ready, that the base endurance, I didn't build it enough, coming off an injury before the Tokyo Marathon block. It translates here into that heart rate going a bit through the roof and not being able to sustain that marathon pace for 44 kilometers. This is a breakdown of my Tokyo Marathon in terms of data on Strava. I don't know if you like it, if you're interested, I could go way deeper with power and go into training peaks. If you're interested, let me know. I can do that, but it's only if it's let's say geeky enough for you and if you are interested in seeing more data. Question for you, let me know in the comments if you have any advice. I'm considering another marathon soon, not like in the next weeks, but maybe like in a couple months before summer starts here in Europe. So that would be probably a marathon around end of April, May latest. Any suggestions, let me know in the comments. Or do you think it's better to wait and race in September, October, November after the summer? I'm very happy to read from you if you have some experience in that type of scenario where the body feels okay after the marathon and you feel like you could race again quite soon, What did you do? Did you race? Did you wait? I'm curious. Let's share experiences in the comment section. This is also where the value of the community lies. Thanks so much for watching this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Enjoy your run today, enjoy your ride, and go beyond your limits. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.